Aaron Lakar, and I would like to give my behavioral assessment for the HiCounselor organization. These are the questions I have been asked. First, please share a bit about your family upbringing and the responsibilities you had growing up. I would like to give my introduction first. My name is Aaron Lakara, and I have completed my bachelor in science with majors in data science from Techno International Newtown. And my family consists of 4 members: my mother, my father, my elder sister, and myself. Lastly, the responsibilities I had growing was to have a proper childhood, to be able to have a good foundation in my education, not only education but also in my cook to have a proper exposure to co-curricular activities, to be able to partake in any events organized in our school, to be the first one to be the participate it and be able to learn something new, as well as be a lending hand in home to any chores or any task I have been assigned by my parents. Second, what would be your immediate plan if you were to lose your job today? Would you consider further education? My initial thoughts would be to not consider further education, but because I have already completed the preliminary or the requisite education, which helped me to land my first job and also helped me to get experience about it. So I wouldn't consider further education, but instead I would upskill myself, learn in new skills, new tech, and also freelance projects in order to upskill myself and to also uh, look out for jobs uh, via referrals or via the people in my network which would help me out one day. Third, what are you passionate about outside of work? Share some of your efforts and achievements related to your passion. Most passionate thing about outside of work would be to have a professional career in football. I've always aimed at having a professional career at football since my childhood. I've even played at some local tournaments as well. Now the results were not quite fulfilling, but I had the exposure and the experience, and I still aim to this day. I want to fundraise to join academy abroad and to give a shot at a tier 2, tier 3 football league. Fourth, what is the biggest problem you have solved so far at work or outside work? Share your approach. The biggest problem I have solved so far would be to install dependency, most importantly TensorFlow for my image classification project. At first, installing dependencies is a minute task for any people, but installing TensorFlow was the biggest headache I've ever felt. Like I had to go through the YouTube to to search how to install it. I went to the proper tutorials, several tutorials, which showed me how to install TensorFlow along with the GPU support for my image classification model. For the entire 1 week, I wasn't able to proceed ahead because I was stuck on this major issue of installing TensorFlow along with the other uh, packages which were dependent on TensorFlow, and I had to remove and replace with several of those packages with the version which would support my TensorFlow. And at the end of 1 week, I was able to solve it out, and at the end, it worked out. Fifth, share an example of when you took the initiative to improve an existing process at your job, internship, education. During my bachelor's, we didn't have a faculty members for a department, so I kept on insisting my HOD and even my professor to please uh, in- invite members from from other colleges or even as guest faculty to take a classes because it feels like having come to this institution and not being able to fulfill what we came here for feels meaningless. And I took the initiative in behalf of others and myself also to have the complete education we came to look out for. As others weren't concerned about it, but me myself was the most concerned about it because I came here with the goal to have a proper uh, foundation in data science and be able to look out for my industry related industry related projects and be able to land my first job. So this was the initiative I took, as it was the most important one, which helped in the end uh, me finally. We had some guest faculty members who took a classes and all. It wasn't uh, live, but it was done remotely. I also took the initiative to contact the teachers, keep them. We were in communication to get to know what was going on in and about of the education and the institution, to even have them knowledge about it. Sixth, can you give an example of a project where you had to work under tight deadline? How did you manage your time and your success? Previously, when I had interned at House of Cotton Private Limited for for the role of subject matter expert, the first project I was assigned was getting user experience for a university app, which was the project deadline was around 2 weeks, and I had completely no idea about how to create user persona, user experience, how to conduct interviews, how to conduct surveys, and how to create Figma. Which at the end it was mentioned you had to draw hand drawn, so it was a bit simple, but still I had to know about how to draw Figma and how I had vision with the features I had taken noted down, and how it would completely turn up at the end. It was a bit uh, hard. It took time. I had to learn through YouTube, took down notes, did my research, and at the end, the project was given. I was ready for production, and it was accepted. Lastly, tell me a situation where you had to learn completely new to complete a task. How did you go about it? For for my projects, for my portfolio, I had to completely. It was the main topic for it was DevOps, which was to deploy the model via API or a Docker. And my first was to learn about API because it's very useful in data science, especially for data scientists, which mostly use. So I had to know about how to create a API. I had no idea about it because mostly my focus was on data analysis and other SQL, and no idea about the API part. So I had to go on the YouTube, look up the tutorial, what is an API, how does it work, did my research, wrote down notes, went to the API documentation, looked for other types of APIs, and at the end, I was able to create a basic API. And then onward, I progressed ahead with bit more complex APIs like using a model, building a model, then loading it up on the API, and then sending the request on the server to get some response from the server using the model I had saved. I had loaded up on the API, and it gave me a new knowledge about how APIs work and how important they are in the data science domain, and how it can be progressed further in in several projects it is required. So yeah, these were the questions I had for the behavioral assessment. Hope you liked it. Thank you.